They finally found it! After eons of searching, at long last, we found it! The scientifically perfect WIAGW noise! I'm okay. Okay, that's not working either. Hello everybody, and welcome to WIAGW, and we're starting something right now. So everybody remembers Mia Maffava and that wonderful jingle. So starting right now, we're making this a communal thing. Everybody send me your noises on Twitter using hashtag WIAGWnoise. We're gonna start cycling through WIAGW noises, just like this shitty one I'm using today, until we find one that fits the show. This is gonna be a back and forth. It's gonna be lots of fun. Let's get to it. Send me MP3s, send me flax, send me WAVs, whatever the fuck you want, fam. I'll give it a try, as long as it's nice and brief. And with that out of the way, let's get right into today's topic. Today, we're talking about Metroid. Specifically, the Metroid that just came out, Metroid Samus Returns, a remake of Metroid 2 Return of Samus. Now, I myself am a widely known lover of the Metroidvania games, but up to this point, I think I've skewed a little bit in my discussion on the Castlevania side of things, but I have in fact played every single 2D Metroid extensively, multiple times. However, that does exclude the original version of Metroid 2, because I have only played a very relevant remake of that game, and that's AM2R, the fan-made Metroid 2 remake that came out last year. And while we're on the topic, it was also slapped with a big ol' cease and desist right after it came out by Nintendo, and that clearly, in retrospect, is due to the fact that they've been cooking up this game here. And let me just tell you, every Metroid that I've played up until Samus Returns, I have absolutely adored. The original Metroid / Zero Mission, Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, which is, without a doubt, my favorite of the bunch. Haters, get fucked! Incidentally, I have played next to none of the Metroid Prime games, and I know there was a big hubbub earlier this year with the grand entrance of the Metroid 4 still image. Wow, really impressed by that one. But I'm pretty much going to ignore that because I don't know anything about those games. They seem fine, they seem cool, I just haven't played them. And no, I haven't played Federation Force. I actually have played a little bit of Metroid Pinball. I thought it was alright, but I don't give a fuck about those. I care about the Metroidvania ones. And that's this, and this. And I hope I'm making it clear just how much I love these games. And so when I first saw the visuals of Metroid Samus Returns, with its 3D, 2D graphics that ditched the beautiful sprites that made up all the old games, considering my experience playing Other M, my expectations were very, very low. Which is why you should pay very close attention when I tell you that this might just be the best Metroidvania Metroid yet. And let me tell you why. So while everybody says that Super Metroid is like the best game ever made, an opinion that I totally respect, my preference was always for Metroid Fusion, which I think makes sense for a gamer like me, a guy who loves JRPGs so much, these kind of linear story-based games, because with Metroid Fusion, there is much less of the freedom you got in a game like Super Metroid, or to a lesser extent Zero Mission. I personally much prefer the emphasis on story that was woven into the Super Metroid style gameplay in Fusion. Like, the SAX entrance scene is one of the most haunting in my life that I experienced on my GBA when I was like 10. To this day, this haunts me, as well as the encounters you have with the SAX later on in the game. The downside to that is that during repeat playthroughs, those are the exact same encounters every single time, which does make it worse. Though even then, there are some secrets to find, but that kind of thing is not the strength of Metroid Fusion. That didn't stop me from playing it over and over and over again, but doesn't matter. But let's stop pussyfooting around. Let's get down to the business. What's the deal with Samus Returns? I'm telling you straight out right now, Samus Returns is the evolution to the Metroid series that it has desperately needed. But to be a little more specific, I think that this game made a few small changes that have drastically enhanced and evolved the idea of what it means to play a 2D Metroid game. To me, it seems like the fact that this other developer, Mercury Steam, was put on the project by Nintendo and they were able to work together to make this thing, even though I'm sure Nintendo was looking over their shoulder the whole time, I feel like they allowed themselves to understand what it is that makes a Metroid game fun, and how to expand upon the ideas that were already there to enhance that feeling. Which is why I want to talk about a couple of the new abilities specifically. Because remember everybody, I just replayed AM2R, and without a doubt, that game has more polish. It's true, some of the scripted sequences in there are much better, and I have to admit, every single time that the camera swooped away from me and I got like a cinematic sequence here in Samus Returns, I never really cared for it. It works fairly well in the context of the game, but like to break away from the 2D perspective that I've gotten so used to, I can't say I really enjoyed that, but that was just a very minor gripe. But no. It really is the gameplay that has evolved in very specific ways. Brothers and sisters, friends, family, and others, let me tell you about what it means to be able to control your aiming angle freely with the stick, as in you move it a little bit, it moves. No longer are we cursed with the push L to shoot diagonally and be at a fixed 45-degree angle at all times. Okay, that was like by far the most annoying thing about the original Metroid games. The fact that you get locked into one angle. And I actually really like that system. I really think it's a good half measure for a controller like the Super NES had with Super Metroid, as well as Fusion and Zero Mission for the GBA. But my god, the sheer level of pleasure, being able to aim precisely and having a little targeting laser to show you exactly where your shots were gonna go. This is what it has needed desperately. And I gotta tell you, man, like, I was shitting on the 3D aesthetic of this game, but it's only through evolving to 3D and leaving behind the pixels that I personally love that I feel like we got to this point. Now, you could definitely do something like this with pixels. It wouldn't be impossible, but, like, this feels like a natural evolution. There really is a tangible benefit to being in 3D here. And, like, the actual animation of Samus as she, like, moves her body in a smooth motion as you rotate that thing, like, that felt great, and I really, really liked it. Because remember, people, this is a remake of a very old game, so there's kind of just a bunch of enhancements that the Mercury Steam guys have added on top of the original base game, which is all good, which is all fine, which is basically just as good as it was in AM2R, but there you go. So that, right away, was pretty much the best thing ever. Though there is a downside to it, I will say that when playing this thing on my motherfucking 3DS, like, my fingers get super cramped. I don't think I'm the only one who's probably experiencing some serious cramp as I'm trying to like fucking tilt this thing and hold down the L and R. That was rather painful. If I could play this with like a PS4 controller or something like that, that would be a lot more comfortable and would make it a lot easier to play for a long time, which I absolutely did, because I fucking 100%ed this game on the fucking third day it was out because I loved it so much. Incidentally, 100% on this fucking thing. Take a look, I'm gonna put an image on screen probably. Wink, I'm the best. So in addition to the typical kinds of power-ups that you get in this game, which I loved and are great in every Metroid, but are very milquetoast, there are the addition of these, like, oh fuck, what did they call them? Like, ether powers, Etherion powers, angel powers, I don't fucking remember. The point is there are these little things you control with the A button. You toggle them on and off. And there's 4 of them total. There's the shoot super fast one, slow down time for everyone else, which effectively works like the speed booster, because the speed booster wasn't in this game. And then there's 2 that are kind of a game changer. One positively and one kind of negatively. First of all, there's this electric energy shield thing. The thing about this is, as long as it's active, you will take no damage and experience no knockback until your bar runs out, and every little hit wears off a little bit of the bar. This is actually a little bit too good. The ability to nullify any hits just by, like, toggling this thing on, it really does kind of break the games in some ways and make it a little bit too easy to get through. But on the other hand, I do want to give it credit, because late game, when you're just trying to get through the world and head back to, you know, complete your 100% run or whatever you're trying to do, toggling this thing on and just being able to blast through enemies and totally disregard them does feel legitimately dope. So there's a plus and a minus there. And then, this is what it's all been about, okay? This is the one that really matters. There's a fucking scan button. An area of effect scan function. Oh my god. I think something like this exists in the Prime games. I can't remember if it does the exact same thing as this. But basically, if you have any of your Etherion or whatever, and you use this ability, it just, in a big block around you, scans every square and tells you if there's a breakable block. Do you have any idea what a big deal this is? Okay, so every person who's played a Metroid knows the ritual of when you go into a new room, you put on Spider Ball, or you do whatever you have to do in order to turn into the Morph Ball, go around every single tile in the room and bomb them all. Because bombs have always been the way that you reveal breakable blocks. And even if you don't break it with the bomb, it'll show you what you can do to break it, or reveal that it can't even be broken, like the ones that you fall through from above and can't get back up. Later on in the game, you get this power bomb ability, but that still consumes a resource and is kind of annoying. But the scan tool, okay, the scan tool is, again, almost kind of broken, because what it does is, in addition to revealing everything in the room, like the power bomb, it also displays more area of the map in a big square around your current location, which, a little bit does undercut your ability to explore and find new areas. For some reason though, I didn't mind it at all. I was just happy to have it there as a tool I could use to, ease the labor of having to bomb every fucking room and find new paths to go to. Oh, and it shows off upgrades. It reveals where upgrades are on the map. And oh my god, that was the best. I was able to 100% this game without having to look anything up. I just went over my map, did a bunch of scans everywhere. I had all the tools at my disposal to actually 100% this game in a reasonable fashion. And I gotta say, it kind of fucking ruled. I don't know if I've ever been able to do that before, 100% a game without having to look anything up. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there, the old school purists who are going to criticize it for making it too easy, but I don't know, man. I do want to sort of throw them a bone and say, maybe there's a middle ground we can reach here, like we still do the scan and it maybe temporarily reveals places on the map? I don't know. I'm not sure that really works. But all I know is I sure fucking loved it in this game. And the last new function that I want to talk about is the counter move. Your physical move you have in this game. Kind of reminiscent of Other M. Now, it's no secret that I hated Other M. This game does not make any of those same mistakes because there's none of that terrible story bullshit. The point is, basically every enemy in the game has a little flash they do before they do a certain type of attack that you can hit X really quick to counter, which opens them up for like a cool 3D like action attack where you deal a bunch of damage to them, and it's the most efficient way to kill a lot of enemies. And I've heard people say, and I kind of agree with them, that that move is also overpowered. See, I think that's the biggest area for criticism of the game. This game gives you so many new tools at your disposal to dispatch with enemies, kind of like they're casualizing the game, which, raises a red flag or two, but honestly, this one was super fun to use as well. So I really can't criticize it either, especially against bosses. See, this is where the 3D camera stuff was actually awesome, kind of like in Kingdom Hearts 2 with reaction commands. The camera can swirl around after you do a counter and hit them with an attack, as Samus like bombards them with fucking missiles to the face. Those things were legitimately fucking dope, and they were the most efficient way to kill most bosses, so you're rewarded like narratively as well as within the game mechanics themselves. It's fucking perfect. So I don't know, man. I don't know, that's about all I got to say. Basically, this is a resounding endorsement of a game that I expected to really not like so much. You can take this, Doubting Thomas, and shove me up my asshole! I know the Mercury Steam guys made like the Lords of Shadow games, which were bullshit. I was not a fan of any of those. But there were some cool cinematics. As final notes though, I would say that the thing I liked least about this game, aside from all the ways that made the game perhaps a little bit too easy, would be sort of the lack of a narrative gravitas like my favorite Metroid Fusion had, which it is understandable wasn't included in here. I mean, this is a remake of a game that had next to no story. But nonetheless, if we're considering this game as sort of the step forward for the series and as a possible seed to be planted for future 2D Metroid games, as is kind of hinted in the ending, wink wink, I love you fucking Metroid Fusion, love you! Then I would like to see the future adventures of Samus Aran with the same level of stoicism, but maybe just a tad more like we had in Metroid Fusion. To me, that's just the perfect amount. And last note, the actual mechanic of killing all the Metroids in this game, I like the way that the Metroids get more advanced towards the end of the game, but like, some of them were legitimately annoying, there's no doubt about it. The ones who bury underground, in particular. So, not bad, but not great. Anyway, put in more story. Metroid Fusion, here we come! X Parasites, baby! Yeah! Anyway, that's about it, everybody. I would highly recommend you go out and get this game if you've got a 3DS. Let's move on to the P.O. Box. Transition. Remember, everybody, to send your own shit to the address below. P.O. Box 9561, Cincinnati, Ohio. That zip code. Or is it that one? I don't know. Can I have some more? Everybody, we've got one letter today. Just one from our buddy, Stamford. Once again, that's 3 times now, 3 times the charm. You know what? Can we get some fan art for Stamford? Stanford with an N? I don't know who this hero is, but he deserves something. Though to be fair, let's find out what he sent first. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Everybody, we have the Stanford Traditional. $2! Here we go. Stanford, the $2 scholar. That's you, my dude. Make fan art. Okay, let's see what we got here. Since there's only one, and it says you don't have to read this, I might as well take the time to read it. Tweet at dictionary.com and tell them to fix August 30th, 2017's word of the day. There needs to be a space after the comma that comes after figure. It's been over a week. I don't know what word he's talking about. Somebody help me. Dear best guy ever, check out the YouTube series Shit Tubes, no space between shit and tubes, by Kaiser Trigger, especially watch episode 6. 14 minutes, where he covers Digibro, and he also talks about For Neverworld, Lost Pause, and Double 4 anime. Also, please explain your patron awards or lack thereof. Stanford. Well, since you asked so nicely, sure. I don't specifically have patron rewards right now on my Patreon because the content is the reward, which I cannot make if I don't make any money, because I have to support myself one way or another. I actually have been thinking about making patron awards, but specifically that would be a business decision to entice people to become my patron. But really, the whole point of Patreon is to fund an artist trying to make their art, and that's what this is, believe it or not. So while a lot of people do offer specific tangible rewards for themselves, and I've been considering doing some too, my Patreon specifically is about my ability to create this content, period. Okay? Is that cool? You don't have to patron me, but that's my pitch, so I hope you do, everybody. Patreon.com/bestguyever. Thanks. So even though we're kind of already there, let's get to those questions. Okay, here we go, everybody. Answering questions tweeted to me using hashtag AskBGE. Here we go. Question number 1 by @Gerard. Any plans on doing a WIAGW about Frank and Fran? Frank and Fran, if you don't know, is a fantastic horror/comedy/ a little bit of slice of life manga by someone who I forget, but I love very much, because Frank and Fran is one of my favorite manga of all time. It's dark, it's gross, and it's into that real shit, too. It's kind of like a Junji Ito, only with a kind of lighter streak to it. Fran Madaraki herself is one of my choice waifus, and it's just an all-around fantastic series, so I would very much like to cover it someday, that's true. Though, to be honest, doing manga is a lot harder than doing anime, because as I learned during my Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer experience, it's a lot of fucking effort to like keep something visually interesting when you're talking about a manga. And like I could do a WIAGW style and just like put up still images. You know what? I don't know why I didn't think of that. I actually could do that. But still, it's actually still quite challenging and time consuming to read through a manga to get the individual pages you need and then bam, like put them up. Bam, bam, bam. So the answer is maybe. The answer is maybe. We'll see one day. @Ska15let, is that supposed to be like Scarlet? I don't know. Was there a show that you initially disliked but became one of your favorites after a rewatch? Not a show, but you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when that, the Me, Me, Me music video first came out, as you'll recall over here. When I watched it first, like, I only watched a little bit, and I was in, like, a bad mood that day, admittedly. I was just like, wow, this sucks. This is, like, shallow and bullshit. I don't care. Because I only got up to, like, the beginning, like, moe part, and oh no, I got to, like, the darkness part, and I was like, ooh, what are they just trying to be edgy? This fucking sucks. Like, there's nothing beyond what's on the surface level here. This is gay! Of course, after my friends, particularly Digi, spent a while telling me how wrong I was, and explaining to me that, no, Nate, you should probably finish it before you call it shit. It's actually pretty good, and then I did finish it, and it was legitimately great, and I'm quite fond of it. So, me, there's one. @RuiFangZ asks, what do you think of the colored version of One Piece, and would you recommend it to first-time readers? Interesting question. I have not spent a lot of time reading the colored One Piece. I honestly, I should do it myself, just to see how it comes out. I know that it's digitally colored, and, like, Oda himself hasn't done it, so, like, my instincts, you know, my red flags get raised a little bit as, like, this might not be exactly what Oda intended. But on the other hand, like, you're not really gonna lose that much just by coloring. But, I mean, what can I say? I'm a big fan of just, like, the black and white manga, and I wouldn't want to personally risk anything. If you're the kind of guy who will only read One Piece if it's in color, I would say go ahead and read the colored manga. You're not going to lose much. But if you're, like, a purist, and obviously I'm a bit of a One Piece purist, I would say read it in black and white, but I don't think either you're going to be losing much either way. @TheMaxter says, hey, BG, what is your t-shirt size? I'm a Brit wanting to send you one. Hey, cool, dude. I am a medium. This is a medium men's? Yeah, medium men's. And I don't know if they're different for Euro cuck sizes versus American. I would say a medium. Just send a medium, I'll be fine. And thank you very much if you do that. Last question of the day, @Tree of the Forest asks, have you read any of Albert Camus? You seem to have very similar philosophies towards materialism and human purpose. You know, I actually have read Camus' most famous work, The Stranger. It was a copy that my dad had just sitting around. It was just a small little volume, and my dad had said good things about it, so I just picked it up and read it one day, and I absolutely loved it. Though, that story was more about, like, I don't want to sound pseudo-intellectual or like an idiot right now, because I only kind of remember what it's about. I know it's about, like, like an outsider in a culture who gets arrested. No, he like murders someone for like no reason, and he's a sociopath, but also he's not. I completely forget what it was about, but I remember loving it, and I would like to reread it again so I could speak more intelligently on it. But other than that, I know almost nothing about Camus' like philosophy or what he wrote about, so it sounds like this is an endorsement, and you're saying that I should. One day, I will. Alright everybody, that's gonna do it. And you know what? Just as a little bonus, I'm gonna give you one extra special treat. We're going to do a reading of what happened. Here we go, Hillary. We're gonna read an excerpt from her book, just to top things off. Here we go, everybody. Tuck in your kids. If you're unconvinced that friends are worth it, consider the data. Here is where my friends would say, of course Hillary has data. Oh, Madam President, really? Studies show that when seniors interact on a regular basis with friends, they have fewer problems with memory and depression, greater physical mobility, and are more likely to get regular checkups. Now that I'm officially in the senior category, I'm holding on even more tightly to my friends. They're literally keeping me strong. I keep her strong. Come back next week for more, everybody. Eventually, we'll get through this whole fucking thing. All right, everybody, that's the end of WIAGW. There it is for this week. Be sure to follow me on all my shit. Go to my Twitter, follow me there. Send me questions using hashtag AskBGE. Send items with the address listed over there. Become a patron at patreon.com/bestguyever so that one day I can do this full time. And of course, go subscribe to The Procrastinators channel, my podcast channel, with all my fellow content creator buddies. Some big things happening over there recently. You're going to want to check it out. If you're a weekly reader of One Piece, subscribe to the Pod-D-Cast podcast I do with Hypocrite so you can follow along every week as we read the new chapters. And of course, do not forget to send me those noises with hashtag WIAGWanoise. We're on a campaign, everybody, to make the perfect little fucking noise thing. Yeah! And with that, we're done. I'm gonna see you next week, everybody!